Let us pray. God, we come to you with full hearts this afternoon, full of pride in accomplishment and yet humility, full of joy in being together and yet sadness in parting, full of confidence in your continued leading and yet fear that your purposes may be hard to discern. Oh God, take this mixture of emotions and use them to turn us toward you in thanksgiving and trust, and stir up our joy in this moment. Amen. Please be seated.
My life goes on in endless song above earth's lamentation. I hear the real, the far-off song that hails a new creation. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. It sounds I sing my soul. How can I keep from singing? Although the storms around me blow, I know the truth will guide me. Although the darkness round me grow, my song's the light beside me. No storm can shake my inmost calm, while to that rock I'm clinging. My Lord is Lord of heaven and earth. How can I keep from singing? No storm can shake my inmost calm, to that rock I'm clinging while love is heaven and How can I keep from Climbing up the mountain, climbing up the mountain, up the mountain. Climbing up the mountain, children, I didn't come here for to stay. 'Cause if I never more see you again, I'm gonna meet you at the judgment day. Lord, I'm climbing up the mountain, climbing up the mountain, up the mountain. Climbing up the mountain, children, I didn't come here for to stay. 'Cause if I never more see you again, I'm gonna meet you at the judgment day. Well, Daniel went in the lion's den, he did begin to pray. And the angel of the Lord locked the lion's jaws. Oh, wasn't that a mighty good day? Good Lord, oh, wasn't that a mighty good day? That's why I'm climbing up the mountain, climbing up the mountain, up the mountain. Climbing up the mountain, children, I didn't come here for to stay. 'Cause if I never more see you again, I'm gonna meet you at the judgment day. The children mighty good day. For Daniel in the lion's den, a mighty good day. When angels got the lion's jaws, a mighty good day. For children in the fiery furnace, a mighty good day. When Joshua fought at Jericho, a mighty good day. When Moses went to Egypt land, a mighty good day. When Pharaoh set his people free, I'm climbing up the mountain, climbing up the mountain, up the mountain. Climbing up the mountain, children, I didn't come here for to stay. 'Cause if I never more see you again, I'm gonna meet you at the judgment day. Climbing up the mountain, children, I didn't come here for to stay. 'Cause if I never more see you again, I'll meet you at the judgment day, the mighty day. The mighty Mississippi on a rocky shore stands a school we love so dearly, now and evermore. Augustana, Augustana, we thy children as of old sing thy praise in song unending to all doggies blue and gold. Though the future years may part us, still together now. Faith and love to Augustana, evermore we vow. Augustana, Augustana, we thy children as of old sing thy praise in song unending to all doggies blue and gold.
A special thank you to our choir. The choir heads to China in 3 days for a 2.5-week tour. Isn't their music heavenly? Good afternoon and welcome to Augustana College's 145th annual commencement. On behalf of the faculty, let me be the first to congratulate the 506 members of the Augustana College class of 2005. We are proud of you and your achievements, and we thank you for what you have added to Augustana College. Through your thoughtful comments in class, through the insights you have demonstrated in your research, through your works of art and music, through your determination on the athletic field, through your passion for public service, and through your faithfulness and authenticity, we have grown together. And on a personal note, I've had the opportunity to welcome many of you to the new presidential home, to attend your games, your performances, to visit with you informally in Java 101 or on the quad. I am quite fond of this class, and while I rejoice with you in your accomplishments, I will miss you. But by way of saying welcome to all of us gathered here today, graduates, students, family, friends, and colleagues, and honored alumni, I would like to share with you a story of one of you here today. Earlier this month, I had the good fortune to attend our baseball team's last home game of the regular season. It was senior day. As I was watching the game, a man came over to me and introduced himself as a father of one of our players. He expressed his appreciation for everything Augustana had done for his son, and then he shared something with me that I found to be remarkable. He told me of his son's passion for baseball, a passion that had started early when his son was 3 or 4 years old. Since that time, the parent estimated that he had probably attended 1,000 baseball games, cheering for his son at every one. It was a bittersweet day for that father. His days of watching his son play baseball for competitive teams was probably at the end. But he was proud of what gifts competitive baseball had provided to his son, and proud of the way his son represented Augustana College, but proud also that he was about to graduate from Augustana. I know each parent here has a similar story, whether it be attending countless athletic events, music concerts, other activities of your students, or the many, many times you simply lent a helping hand or shared words of encouragement. Indeed, these are days in which we might see some endings. But as I thought about this parent's words and the poignant moment he shared with me, I realized that while cheering his son on the baseball field might be coming to an end, this parent's days as a coach and cheerleader are far from over. I know I am the father of a recent college graduate. Parents, as your students leave Augustana College and make their way in life, they will still turn to you more often than you might now think. They will ask you to be your coach, your cheerleader, and increasingly, their friend. As time passes, you'll be rewarded as you watch your children because you will see many of your best traits in them as they mature. Students, remember those of you who have served as your coaches, your cheerleaders, your advocates, and your mentors. For most of you, first and foremost, these are your parents, but there are others. At Augustana College, your faculty members have also been your coaches, your cheerleaders, and your advocates. Sometimes they have pushed you outside of your comfort zone. Importantly, they have helped you think about your calling in life. Often, they have been your mentors. In my judgment, there is no greater earthly privilege than to mentor another. I hope you will stay in touch with your faculty members and continue to share with them your accomplishments, your joys, and even your sorrows. So it is with this that I say welcome. Parents and friends, thank you for entrusting us with your students' college education. Students, I speak for the faculty when I say that we are privileged to be your mentors and teachers. It is an honor. So thank you all, and welcome to the commencement for the Augustana College class of 2005. I'm happy to introduce to you now Daniel E. Gottschling, who will serve as our commencement speaker. He is one of the nation's leading cancer researchers at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Center in Seattle. A full introduction of Dr. Gottschling will be reserved for the conferral of the honorary degree. Please help me welcome Dr. Gottschling.
Thank you, and congratulations, 2005. Let me be the second to congratulate you. It's a great honor to be here with you today. And when I got the call from President Balls to come and give the address, I have to admit I did it with great consternation because I've never talked in front of, one, this many people, and two, people that don't think about science all the time for the last 20 years. But I accepted it as a challenge, and so I went to some of my two best advisors to get some advice about this challenge, and that's my wife and my father. My wife told me, don't embarrass me. My father said, keep it short. So in that spirit, I hope I'll be able to convey some things to you. So why do you have a commencement speaker? Well, I know that at William and Mary last year, they had Bono as this speaker. So rock stars, popular press people, sometimes you have politicians, and sometimes you have alum. And I realized that the reason that you have alum, perhaps, is that this is one last attempt by the college to give you some help in seeing what your future might be. So in that spirit, I thought, well, how could we best do that? And the best way I could think of it was to build a time machine. Unfortunately, I didn't get it finished in time. So instead, what we'll do is I will try to convey to you some of the similarities that you and I have, though it's been 28 years since I've been here, and then give you a snapshot of what happened to me in the interim. Now, given that, let's think about some of the things that have changed around here or are the same. So, for instance, when I was walking yesterday through the quad, the main quad, we used to play golf frisbee down there. And in my day, it was a 3-par course, but with all the extra obstacles, trees, I'd say it's about a 5 or 6 now. The slough has changed in some way. As I was running by this morning, I noticed that it's still beautiful, but that odor started coming back again. And in fact, they've enhanced that. Is that Ode Augie? You've got this big spritzer there trying to aerosol. During my time on things that were outside of Augie, was the end of the Vietnam War came. For you, things are a little different. And that is, you've seen the invasion by our country of Iraq, and yet we're still dealing with those issues. But some things have absolutely not changed. I went to the cafeteria today, and there was still the same mystery meat being served. In addition, the weekend that I graduated from Augie, Star Wars opened. It's unbelievable. Another thing that has not changed, I'm happy to say, is that the type and quality of education is the same here. And in concert with that is also the friendliness. I've only been back 2 days, but I forgot just how friendly all the faculty and students are here. So what I decided I'd like to try to do today then, in the remaining time, is give you the essence of my Augie experience, things that would not have been, that I probably would not have learned had I not come here, if I had gone elsewhere. The first of those started actually in my first term here, and that's when I was forced to take a religion class, which I know is still part of the curriculum. And it was the very first term, and it was called Introduction to Christian Beliefs. And it was taught by Professor Peter Beckman. And the thing that amazed me is I had to admit, I went in with a lot of apprehension because I did not feel myself a particularly religious person. But we started to talk about grace in an intellectual sense. And that thing, and the discussion about grace was probably one of the biggest pluses that happened for me, because we actually got to some answers of it. And while, let's see, I don't think all of you realize this, but I'm the only thing, students, standing between you and your diplomas. There's one more pop quiz. What is grace? As the representatives here of your class, Ryan? It's one of those trick questions. It turns out there are many, many definitions of grace. But the ones that I took away from was that it was the unmerited kindness. You're off. It was unmerited kindness and benign goodwill. And what I realized is that no matter what happens, you will be accepted. That's what it sort of meant to me, ultimately. It was not a license to sin or go crazy, but it still conveyed amazing freedom. And the freedom that I took on was that it was an opportunity and freedom to explore many, many things. And I must admit, I used that exploration quite heavily, especially in college. But more importantly, what it did is it alleviated in my mind the idea of fear. Because fear causes paralysis, inability to act, and it also causes sometimes more negative things to happen, cruelty, etc. And so I was very happy for that. And what I discovered is that it went beyond the classroom, that grace was bestowed upon me through all the faculty here and all the attempts to do so. So from that then, the second part of this was that there was the liberal arts education. There was a breadth of topics and interests that enriched my life in ways that I had not anticipated beforehand. The other thing that began to happen to me is that and it was being, if you will, forced, or I was led down that path by the faculty, is the idea of integrating my thinking. And it started off, and it became incredibly exciting. That is, the idea to be able to synthesize ideas from disparate areas. And it was very exciting to me, and also, again, turned out to enrich my life. It started off very simply initially. So, for instance, I ended up being a chemistry major. Where I started to make connections was I took Doug Nelson's class, and I learned about differential equations in linear algebra, and holy moly, I could translate this into things that I was learning in physics and chemistry. From there, it started to go from the chemistry and physics I was taking, that I began to make connections to biology. And in essence, biology was a whole bunch of chemical reactions. Then, I took economics, and I began to see that things such as supply and demand were happening in biology as well. And so it went. And for me, since then, I've always been looking for connections where I didn't expect them to be. Now, one thing where this sort of came together for me was in one class. It was taught by Roald Tweet, who was an English professor at the time. And the course was one of these 70s kind of courses, science fiction for the modern world. And it was a literature and writing class. But what it allowed or facilitated in me was the ability to take all these ideas that had been mulling around in my head and put them all together in something that, well, hasn't seen the light of day other than tweets and my papers. But integrated philosophy and chemistry and biology, and that was sort of the first manifestation of that for me. So my Augie experience instilled in me the importance of maintaining breadth throughout life, and to this day, I continue to play competitive soccer, which I used to play here. I still sing in a choir. I used to be in the Augie choir. I still work hard at my science. And so now, excuse me, what I wanted to sort of fill in is what happened to me after graduation. Well, I want to tell you just 3 little anecdotes because I want to stay within my father's advice of not taking too much time. So the first one is when I left here, I had read a book by a famous quantum physicist named Schrödinger, which was called What is Life? This was a quantum mechanics physicist, chemist, who won the Nobel Prize, but wrote a book about biology. And so I was convinced that if I understood quantum chemistry, I would be able to figure out lots and lots of things. So I went to the University of Colorado to study quantum chemistry. And within one term, I realized that there was another guy in the class, my entering class, who was actually going to figure this out, and I was not. And so, sort of with that kind of trepidation and realization, it sort of shot everything I had initially hoped for. But because of I will argue, my Augie education of adaptability and thinking widely and looking for other connections, I went around to the rest of the chemistry department and asked them, can I become a biochemist? And they all said no. Fortunately for me, a brand new faculty member, naive as I was, came, and his name was Tom Check. And I was waiting on his doorstep, and he said, sure, he was a biochemist. He said, sure, I'll take you in. And to cut the story short, as his first graduate student, we ended up discovering new things in chemistry and biology that ended up leading to him winning the Nobel Prize a few years ago. So what I'm getting at is that while I had a particular path I was planning on. It took a right turn, and I was ready for it, and also grace was bestowed upon me by the fact that Tom Check was willing to take me into his lab. A second thing that happened to me a little later in in school was that I had probably what was the worst day I had ever experienced. I broke up with my girlfriend. I blew up a room in the chemistry department trying a new kind of experiment. It cost about $10,000 in damage. And I discovered that some of the new work I was trying to develop was already done by another lab. That's what we call in the field, I had been scooped. So I was ready to go home early that day. And I stopped by the student union, our student board, where we picked up our mail. There was an advertisement for someone to come and be a quantum mechanics or physical chemistry teacher for 2 years at a small college in the mountains of Colorado to do a sabbatical replacement. And I looked at that and I said, I think I need to check this out, because where I had come from, there were no scientists or even physicians in my family, and my only representation of science was the faculty here at Augie, that is to teach in a small college. So I jumped at this opportunity. I went for an interview the very next day. And on that day, they said that I was in competition with one other person for the job. It was 2 weeks before school was going to start. Fortunately for me, the person I was in competition with was the janitor of the building. And I began teaching college 2 weeks later in a small liberal arts college up in the mountains of Colorado. It was a great experience. I enjoyed it immensely, but I also appreciated that I was not this faculty. I loved the teaching, but I missed the research. So I went back to the University of Colorado, and the graciousness again was bestowed upon me by my faculty mentor, Tom Check, and he let me come back to the lab. I started a new project, and we developed, again, some new things that ended up leading to some major discoveries. And I went with new fervor and new belief. And so the moral of this little anecdote is you gotta sometimes try things. And it's okay to realize that that wasn't the thing that you really wanted to do. The last thing I'd like to tell you about is something much more recent. Again, affected by my time here at Augustana. I was telling you about making these connections. That's something I learned here. I work at a cancer research center, but I study what's called basic biology. I'm just trying to understand how cells work normally. Nevertheless, I go and interact with other colleagues, and I was hanging out with some epidemiologists at the time. Epidemiologists are people that look at what people do in society and then try to use mathematical models to understand what happens without actually doing a real experiment. And what these epidemiologists knew or brought to my attention, which had been known for a long time, is that age in humans is the greatest carcinogen. So I don't mean to be too morbid, but if you plot frequency of cancer on this, for the arts students, this is going to be a graph, sorry. Just teasing, just teasing. On this is the axis is going to be the incidence of cancer. On this axis is age. As we go, it is very, very low. In fact, when you're up to the age of 40, there's virtually little chance that you'll have cancer unless there's a family predisposition or family traits. And then suddenly around 45, it takes off. And it just goes up logs, hundreds of orders of magnitude. And that became very interesting and curious to me, especially at the time I was right at this point in the curve. And so, trying to make a connection where a connection had not been, we decided to try to see if there was a system that did not last a human's lifetime that we could look at, but rather a shorter lifetime. And it turns out there is, and there's one, it's called yeast, baker's yeast, brewer's yeast. I actually first learned about it, it's for brewing beer and wine. I first learned about it at a Firo kegger. And Firos still are the leading keg sorority, aren't they? Party. So, anyways, what we discovered, the short story, is that the basic biology of what happens as cells get old is preserved in humans and is preserved in yeast. And what we were able to then do is do an experiment, because yeast only live a week instead of 80 years. Do experiments to begin to figure out the same things that happen in humans with regard to cancer, that they happen in yeast. And what we have now been able to do is figure out what's going on and have started to translate that to understand how it's happening in humans. And so that's sort of something that I firmly believe that I never would have been considering if I had not had my Augie education. Making connections where I didn't think, where people before had not made them. So now what about you guys? It's your future now. The near future, I can tell you what's going to happen. You'll have a great sense of sadness, leaving friends and experiences of Augie. I remember being right here in Augie, in the choir, singing, or I should say croaking, by the Mississippi for the last time. And then magically, after you leave here, something's going to happen around fall, just about the time when classes start. And that is Al DeSimone and the development company and the development group will find you, track you down, and ask you to give gifts to Augustana. And it will happen for the rest of your time here. It's actually kind of scary how good he is at it. But more seriously, in the bigger future, I'm not really sure what's going to happen for you guys. Because every generation both has its large problems and more personal problems. Every individual does. But each of those problems, in my opinion, will always present a possibility. So for instance, I suspect that in your lifetime you will see some major disease outbreaks, much bigger than ones we even see now. Not necessarily by bioterrorism, which people have talked about, but things that are simply happening in our normal world. But I will also say that that is a view for opportunity, because I predict that you will be successful in dealing with this, maybe even stopping it before it happens, which will improve human health in general. Something I know a little more about is I know that by the time you guys are my age, life extensions, quality of life will be much greater than it is today. With that will come some problems, though. What will we do with people that are living longer? What will happen to the resources? Hard decisions will have to be made again. Another one that has been bothering me lately is the realization that in your lifetime, the U.S. may no longer be a superpower. You may no longer be part of the entitled group in this world. But I also look at that as an opportunity as well, because what it reflects is the possibility that there may become more equality across the world, and I look forward to that opportunity, and I hope that you folks will be at the forefront of it. So now it's time to graduate. It's time for you to give back to society somewhat now, but also to define it. As you go out and make your ways as scientists and physicians, artists and musicians, teachers and business leaders, lawyers and politicians, you will face an amazing world of challenges, but also opportunities. And I ask that you remember one thing. You remember to try to do it with grace, and you remember that grace was bestowed upon you here. Do not succumb to fear, which is the opposite of grace, because it will paralyze your ability to act, and it may even define you to become cruel. So that's why it is so very important for you to remember what you have learned here. Remember that whatever you do, the benefit of grace will allow you to face small and large challenges of life and more deeply appreciate the joys and triumphs of life. In addition, be sure that you bestow grace upon others, for this too will enrich your life and the greater world. So, Augustana class of 2005, congratulations on your achievements here and whatever will happen in the future, and continue on with grace. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Gottschling. Thank you for your kind words about Augustana College and about our students. Thank you for sharing your life story with us. And thank you for your words about grace. They've given us much to think about. And now, representing the class of 2005 is Ryan H. Anderson. He will be attending Yale Divinity School next year. Ryan?
I would first like to respond to the grace question. Can I get an extension? As an ordained, I will be going into the ministry, and so I'll have my lifetime to work on that question. I would like to thank President Balls and Phi Beta Kappa for the honor to speak to you this afternoon. And although it is a great honor to be standing before you, speaking on behalf of the senior class, such an honor has proved to be a bit of a mixed blessing. Just when finals were over and I thought I could finally rest, I had to write a speech. My only hope is that my words do not confuse or bore you, though perhaps it is not a bad idea to sedate the seniors enough so as to make it safe for them to go out into the world. I am not fain to stand here and speak about the future. Coming from me, it would seem a bit trite and, well, cheesy. I would much rather you, seniors, comment on your own futures. Not now. These ceremonies are always long enough as it is. Although I noticed that all of the valedictorians and Meducci had papers ready to go. They must have had speeches prepared. What I mean is, I pray that your comments come in the form of action. Instead, my focus will be on the past and the present, the stuff that is forming already our futures. If you remember, our college careers began just 2 weeks before the tragic event of September 11th, 2001. I remember waking to chatter in the hall in front of my dorm room. I remember gathering with friends around the TV to see the events unfold, to see the pain and suffering of our fellow Americans, and to see the American world altered profoundly. That was a scary time, but I recall feeling safe. Augustana had already become familiar to me, and the people sharing my home, Seminary Hall, felt like sisters and brothers. We were already a community. Some people refer to an Augustana bubble. They mean by this that Augie is sheltered, that the members of its community are not affected by the world at large. Students often speak of the Augie bubble with disdain because they desire to be cultured and sensitive people of the world. We have had, friends, the wrong impression of this institution. Augustana is not a bubble of isolation. Rather, it is a community, albeit a community that looks inward even as it reaches out. We have not been overly sheltered here at Augustana. We are only as sheltered as we wish to be. Many Augustana students reach out to the Quad City community. Many others experience life overseas on foreign term, and still others feel compassion and responsibility for people around the world who are suffering, most recently sending our prayers and gifts to the victims of the tsunami in India and Sri Lanka. Our power to do these things comes from our community. What's more, even as we feel sheltered, our minds, our personalities, our very souls are not. On the contrary, students of this institution, unless they are skilled and persistent evaders, are bombarded with challenges. I came to college with a good idea about the world. In college, I learned a plethora of ideas about the world. I leave college with absolutely no idea whatsoever, thanks to the faculty. Rather, my focus is on greater things like love, justice, peace, understanding, and action. And with the entire senior class, I here, witnessed by parents and family members, the administration, staff, and guests, give thanks for all of the professors that have given us so much and guided us so well. Friends, we have been through a great deal together. We have worshiped together, laughed together, lived together, worked together, served together, celebrated and partied together, and yes, there is a difference. We have even mourned together. We have prayed together. Our souls, but above all, we have grown together. In this bubble, in this community, our souls have been born, nurtured, and formed. And now, just as we had to leave our parents 4 years ago, and they had to send us with tears of sorrow and joy and hope, so too must we leave this place, our alma mater, sent out to join the communities we are destined to be a part of. Good work. Now get out there and apply it, or if you have to, learn it all again. And as we were reminded at this morning's baccalaureate service, never forget those that helped you along the way. Your parents, your teachers, your friends, Augustana, and God. I'll see you all out there. Godspeed.
Thank you, Ryan. Thank you for those kind words. Well done. And now, Kyle Minch, class of 2005, will present the class gift.
And good afternoon to all of you, and thank you very much for sitting in what may be the most wonderful heat I think that I've ever experienced. The life of the student on this campus is molded by various factors, many of which we see and many of which are not so apparent. And one such factor that is perhaps not recognized by the students as they pass through Augustana is the importance of alumni donations. We reap the benefits of new academic buildings, an aesthetically pleasing campus, and even scholarships, which make it slightly easier to go through this private, selective liberal arts school. And to that end, we have called on the senior class of 2005 to aid in building a base for the future changes that must come to Augustana. In a bifurcated class gift, students have donated money, half of which goes to the Augustana Fund, supporting the academic department, club, or activity of their choosing, and half of which is set aside for the class of 2005 scholarship. To date, the senior class has raised $5,674, and I would like to thank my class for their support of our gift. As my time in front of you grows short, I want to thank my class for making these a memorable 4 years. To the friends that I made, and to the friends that I almost made, gracias.
Thank you, Kyle, and thank you to the generosity of the class of 2005. We will invest that class gift well. And now, the Augustana Symphonic Band.
Thank you.
And now, Dr. Pamela Trotter, Assistant Professor of Chemistry, will present the candidate for the honorary degree Doctor of Humane Letters.
Mr. President, upon recommendation of the faculty and on behalf of the Board of Trustees, it is my pleasure and honor to present Dr. Daniel E. Gottschling for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters. Dr. Gottschling is a faculty member at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in Seattle, Washington, which currently includes 3 Nobel Prize laureates among its world-renowned biomedical research staff. I mention this because it places our honoree in a familiar company. As the first graduate student of Tom Cech at the University of Colorado, Dan played an instrumental role in a discovery that reshaped our way of thinking about life's origins and ultimately led to the Nobel Prize in Chemistry for Cech. Dan Gottschling grew up in Gary, Indiana, before coming to Augustana in 1973 to study chemistry. In addition to membership in Augustana's chapter of the American Chemical Society, Chamber Singers, and the Handel Oratorio Society, Dan was one of the founders of Augustana's soccer club and served as president of the Student Government Association. Based on such evidence, it is apparent that Dan well appreciated the possibilities inherent in an Augustana education. Upon completion of his bachelor's degree, he traveled to Boulder, where he earned his master's and PhD degrees in 1980 and 1984, respectively. Although he began his career at the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center in 1984, he left in 1989 for the University of Chicago. While in Hyde Park, as many honors included, National Academy of Sciences Award in Molecular Biology. In 1996, Dr. Gottschling returned to Seattle and the Fred Hutchinson Cancer Research Center. Since that time, Gottschling's lab has focused on the use of the budding yeast Saccharomyces cerevisiae as a model system to investigate fundamental questions in biology. Among other areas of inquiry is the link between increasing age and the incidence of cancer in humans. One hallmark of cancer, genomic instability, is observed in all types of organisms, including yeast. Researchers in the Gottschling lab recently discovered that as yeast cells enter mid to late period of their lifespan, they switch to a state of persistently high genomic instability. Understanding the processes behind this transition in aging cells could unlock a number of doors in our search for increased knowledge concerning the treatment and prevention of cancer. This work was featured in the prestigious journal Science and was cited by Discover magazine as one of the top science stories in 2003. Having earned Augustana's traditional Bachelor of Arts degree in 1977, Dan Gottschling's many achievements since have prompted the faculty to hereby present him for the degree of Doctor of Humane Letters. President Balls, Dr. Dan Gottschling.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Board of Trustees, I confer upon you the honorary degree of Doctor of Humane Letters with all the rights and privileges thereto appertaining. And now, by long-standing tradition at Augustana College, let's stand up and stretch just for a few minutes before the main event. For the main event, the Dean of the College will now present the candidates for the degrees.
Will the candidates for the degree of Bachelor of Arts please rise? Mr. President, on behalf of the faculty, I wish to recommend the conferring of the degree of Bachelor of Arts on these candidates upon completion of their requirements.
Upon the recommendation of the faculty, and by virtue of the authority invested in me by the State of Illinois and by the Board of Trustees, and subject to the completion of your requirements, I confer upon you the degree of Bachelor of Arts with all the rights and privileges thereto appertaining.
seated. And would you please come forward as guided by the ushers? I would ask the audience to refrain from applause until all names are called. The following students have earned the degree of Bachelor of Arts: Gregory Scott Agard, Linan Jane Evang, cum laude, Jacob Andrew Abbott, Kimi Abduli, Jorge Alberto Acosta, Omar Walid Ahmad, Jennifer Elizabeth Albert, magna cum laude, Chantilly May Anbetic Alfon, Brian James Alured, Jared J. Ammons, Jeffrey William Anderson, cum laude, Margaret Gudrun Anderson, Ryan Howard Anderson, cum laude, Emily Christine Antonides, Charles John Appleton, magna cum laude, Stephanie Renee Uraz, cum laude, Joanne Ellen Artersinger, Alexis James Arguello, Stephanie Elizabeth Ash, Christopher Lee Atkins, Cyril Oluwafemi Adetukunbo Tux Ayangbili, Dawn Elizabeth Bakowitz, magna cum laude, Mihailo Bachkovich, magna cum laude, Jory Ann Badges, Adriana Ballesteros, Jennifer Lynn Banizak, Leanne Marie Barber, Carl Andrew Bartlett, cum laude, Christopher William Barrett, Anna Basic, Joseph Paul Bauman, Jessica Marie Baumgartner, cum laude, Kristen Lee Beeler, magna cum laude, Joseph Robert Bedsole, Brent Wallace Behrens, Casey Ray Behrens, Kristen Diane Beal, Mary Beth Belmont, cum laude, Joshua A. Bender, Cara Ray Benin, cum laude, Zachary Ryan Berkeley, Erin Marie Bertram, cum laude, Beaumont Thomas Biagi, Dong Bing, Lynette May Bizans, Bethany Lynn Bittner, Eric Douglas Bland, Matthew Charles Blankenship, Kenneth Alexander Blanton, Jonathan Ulrich Bloomquist, Jessica Lynn Bowden, Brooke Ann Bonney, magna cum laude, Carrie Elizabeth Bozell, Jamie Lynn Bosma, cum laude, Eric R. Boster, Alana Breckenridge Boyd, Caleb Isaac Brainerd, summa cum laude, Beth Michelle Briney. Stephen Michael Broski, summa cum laude. Jeremy Lee Brown. Matthew James Brownlee. Monica Zanzola Bruckner, cum laude. Alicia Ann Bisher. Angela H. Bukowski. Amanda Ann Bergeson. Christopher Lee Burrow. Matthew Buscemi, cum laude. Desiree Renee Butcher. Bethany Joy Cagle, cum laude. Ashley Brooke Calderon. Rebecca Nicole Caliendo. Judy L. Campos. Stephanie M. Caras. Lisa Julianne Carlson. Laura Jane Carter. Vanessa Alix Cawley, cum laude. John S. Chisholm, magna cum laude. Christopher Gregory Choik. Adam Michael Christensen. Rosalie Joy Christensen. Philip Allen Christman, cum laude. Danielle Lee Florizio. Michael John Clark, summa cum laude. Douglas J. Cochran. Tyler James Coleman. Lauren Michelle Canangla. Kevin Kennedy Connolly. Ashley Danielle Cook, summa cum laude. David Anthony Cook. Erin Elizabeth Koppel, summa cum laude. Julie Ann Cornian. Alexandra Jeanette Corson, cum laude. Tia Lemess Cox. Megan Anessa Crandall. Dawn Christine Crowther, cum laude. Joseph Michael Cruz. Mary Ann Cruz. Michael Allen Cummings. Neil Johnson Daly, cum laude. Craig Michael Damrow. Lauren Marie Dandalis. Andrew K. Davis. Megan Page Davison. Armando J. Peli de la Cruz. Christina Lynn Delaria. Brandon Lee Dennison. Carson W. M. Denny. Anna R. Denton. Nicole Marie DeProm. Catherine Rayanne Derner, magna cum laude. Vincent Charles DeFabio. Jennifer Lynn Dingus, cum laude. Candace Marie Dutola, magna cum laude. Dennis Ryan Dixon, cum laude. Thomas Arthur Doggett, magna cum laude. Haley Marie Downing, magna cum laude. Jonathan Lewis Dukes. Tyra May Donahue. Elliot Paul Dungan. Matthew Aaron Dusenberry. Rachel Suzanne Easley, summa cum laude. Andrew David Eckhart, cum laude. Melissa Ann Ekdahl. James Michael Eddy, cum laude. Christina Marie Imedy. Catherine Marjorie Emmerich, summa cum laude. Erica Lynn Emery, summa cum laude. Ryan Michael Erickson. Joshua Stephen Erickson, cum laude. Jody Marie Eshelman, magna cum laude. Joshua Richard Eshelman. Razan Ghassan Faramand. Hillary Ann Fedorka. Jonathan James Fian, magna cum laude. Amy Marie Fischel, summa cum laude. Michael Stephen Flanagan. Corey R. Fleege. Jennifer Claire Fleming, summa cum laude. Matthew David Forkel. Tara Elizabeth Frank. Carrie Kathleen Fredericks. Holly J. Free. Luke Francis Fritz. Michael Paul Fusco, cum laude. Patricia Jo Gallegos. Jennifer Ann Gallons. Kathleen E. Gano. Theodore Charles Ganser. Matthew J. Garland. Nicholas Robert Gale. Sarah Yere Gehring. Martha Christine Gillum. Jennifer Megan Gilman. Jeremy Robert Gerard, magna cum laude. Liliana Nadia Glubish. Alana Renee Golden. Tara Rebecca Gonzalez Bowling. Sarah R. Goodpaster, magna cum laude. Dawn Renee Gowdy. David R. Grady, cum laude. William Douglas Graham. Megan Jean Grievous. Lindsay Ann Griffin, magna cum laude. Matthew Benjamin Grover. Catherine Elizabeth Grundy. Samantha Jo Gum. Karina N. Gura, magna cum laude. Travis James Guy. Ryan Daniel Hallahan, cum laude. Heidi Ann Hallstrom. Monica Jo Hammock, cum laude. Andrew Jason Hamstra. Matthew John Hanley. Rebecca Ann Hansen, summa cum laude. Sonia Grace Hansen, summa cum laude. Craig Lawrence Hannes. Jennifer Lynn Harmitas, magna cum laude. Michelle Marie Hartman. Kaylee Caldwell Haskell. Justin Robert Hayes. Stacia Nicole Hayes. Matthew E. Heim. Nicole M. Heineman. Christina Marie Henson. Cristina Inez Herrera. Heather Marie Herrera. Bailey Elizabeth Herman, magna cum laude. Julie Ann Hicks, cum laude. Nicholas Allen Heiser, cum laude. Ashley Louise Higgerson. Alexis Ann Higginbotham, cum laude. Andrea K. Hill. Clayton Marcus Hill. Ashley Elizabeth Hillard. Caleb Lee Herzl, magna cum laude. Ryan Christopher Holden. Nicole Jean Hookham. Sean Michael Hoover. Lauren Ann Horwath. Timothy K. Hauer. Travis Jordan Hoyt, cum laude. Brianna Alexander Huber. Valerie Michelle Hughes. Jessica Rachel Hulbert, cum laude. Justin Carl Hurdy. Lala Isayeva. Andrew James Jackson. Sean Eric Jameson, magna cum laude. Joseph P. Jarash. Amanda Jean Jenisek. Adam Christopher Jensen. Ben R. Johansson. Amy Elizabeth Johnson. Eric Stephen Johnson. Jenny Lynn Johnson, cum laude. Laura K. Johnson. Nicholas Joseph Johnson. Christine Lee Jones, summa cum laude. Mahara Joy Jones, cum laude. Cheryl Ann Kalin. Dana Elizabeth Caw, cum laude. Carrie Ann Kiefer, cum laude. Aaron Kristen Jane Kelly, magna cum laude. Micah William Kelsey, magna cum laude. Todd Ralph Kemple, cum laude. Thomas John Cairo. Jason A. Catcham. Victoria Frances Karras. Benjamin Julius Kiefer. Michelle Ann Kilberg, summa cum laude. Cara Ann Canale, summa cum laude. Audrey Joy Kirschman, cum laude. Krister P. Kittleson, magna cum laude. Jody Beth Nussman. Kara Luann Coffrin, cum laude. Seth Corver. Nicole Ann Crumpart. Ann Ardell Crumtinger, magna cum laude. Rajiv Kumar. Denise Ann Carraz, cum laude. Angela Sue Custer, magna cum laude. Michael John Laporta. Jennifer Suzanne Laporte. Ashley Victoria Lobb. Amanda Ann Lake. Mark Young Hoon Landaweer. Thalini Madushika Lansakara. Jennifer Dawn Larson, cum laude. Matthew Charles Laufenberg. Elizabeth Adele Laughlin, summa cum laude. Nicole Marie Levere, cum laude. Teresa Lawrence, magna cum laude. Luke Adam Lawson. Hillary Catherine Lang. Christopher Stephen Lilly. Krista Mary Leo. James Michael Lohman. Meredith Christina Lowe. Lauren Mary Lucas, summa cum laude. Carissa Ann Lukachevsky. Adam Michael Lynch. Kirsten Carol Lyons. Lynn Ann Makis, cum laude. Sarah Ann McKenzie, cum laude. Pamela Kathy Maeda. Lindsay Catherine Mace. Lindsay K. McGee. Kate Lessa Magnuson, summa cum laude. Jessica Joy Manskow, cum laude. Erin Marie Marciniak, summa cum laude. Elizabeth M. Marshall. Joseph J. Marasatz. Lindsay Renee Marks, cum laude. Justin Lee Masterman, magna cum laude. Thomas D. Matthews. Rachel Lynn Matassi. Aaron F. McAllister. Allison J. McCann. Catherine Lynn McCriskin. Megan Elizabeth McDonough. Sean Patrick McDowell. Kevin D. McFarland. Erin Marie McGonigal, summa cum laude. Heather Noel McGonigal. K. James McGowan. Linnea Marie McGowan. Jennifer Ann McGuire. Allison Jennifer McLean, cum laude. Brandon John McClin. Molly Marie McMillan. Scott Michael McNeese. Andrew Robert Mead. Catherine Angel Mecklenburg. Joyce Ann Meyer, cum laude. Melissa Marie Meister. Sergio D. Mendoza. Andrew Charles Meyer, Jr. Catherine Lynn Michaels, cum laude. Maura Josephine Milas, magna cum laude. Charles Allen Milam. Danielle Marie Miller. Scott Richard Miller, cum laude. Kyle James Minch, magna cum laude. John Anthony Mishler. Brittany Cherish Mitchell. Carrie Diane Montgomery, cum laude. Ronald Lee Moore, Jr., summa cum laude. Mark Allen Morazink, cum laude. Heather Lynn Morton. Jill Christine Moth, magna cum laude. Blake Alexander Motel. Elizabeth A. Muehlfelder. Angela Lynn Mueller. William Troy Munson. Joseph Edward Murphy, Jr. John Timothy Murphy II. Sean Joseph Murphy, magna cum laude. Jason Lee Myers, summa cum laude. Haley Ann Nelson, summa cum laude. Matthew James Nickel. Catherine Ann Niehaus. Carl Niesner. Ryan Donald Novak, magna cum laude. Christopher Scott Novak. Megan Rose O'Brien. Sarah Jean O'Leary. Paul Anthony O'Neill, cum laude. Karen Elizabeth O'Quinn. Michael Morgan Oganovich. Christina Guadalupe Ornelas. Adam Michael Osberg. Danielle Lynn Palish. Courtney Marie Palmer, magna cum laude. Eve Nicole Palmer, summa cum laude. Timothy Andrew Palmer. Brad Michael Palmgren. Eamon Andrew Pocket. Jeffrey R. Patino. Leslie Kathleen Pat, magna cum laude. Michael Richard Paulin. David Eric Pearson. Gregory James Peck. Christopher Michael Pelzarski. Kristen Ann Pence, cum laude. Nicholas Kevin Peters. Rachel Ann Peterson, cum laude. Nika Peterson, magna cum laude. Kristen Lynn Petty. Daniel Anthony Pfeiffer, cum laude. Catherine Rose Plasman, cum laude. Natalie K. Polich. Michael Joseph Ponsetto. Eric M. Porras. Nicholas Jess Porschner. Tracy Lynn Preby. Jeffrey Thomas Purcell. John O'Neill Quinlan. Adam Joseph Ramos. Corinne Nicole Rainey. Gabrielle Marie Ray, cum laude. Kyle Michael Manning Reed. Randa Hunt Reverts. Cynthia Rose Richard, summa cum laude. Ryan Alfonso Richardson. Michelle Leah Reapy. Ryan David Riggins. Renee Marie Riley. Kristen Diane Rimmer. Aaron Paige Robbins. William Thomas Rock, cum laude. Sarah Jean Rogie. Emily Catherine Rawling. Susan Nicole Roloff. Colleen Ann Rook. Daniel T. Rooney. Alexandra Leslie Ross. Elliot James Rowe. Lydia Jean Relos. Nicholas J. Rutkowski. Matthew Stephen Salisbury. Adam Ross Sawyer. Elizabeth Diane Sanfilippo, magna cum laude. Ryan Lee Sanders, magna cum laude. Anne Marie Sarton, Joshua Edward Sawlaw, Andrew Benjamin Schaefer, Jonathan David Schlagheck, cum laude, Peter James Schlichting, Carrie Ann Schmidt, Amy Eleanor Schmuckel, Jonathan Robert Schneider, Natalie Ray Schneider, magna cum laude, Jameson Allen Schernhardt, Benjamin David Schutman, Christopher David Scott, summa cum laude, Flannery Jean Scott, summa cum laude, Stephanie Nicole Seaton, John Francis Sexton III, Michael Robert Sheehan, Matthew David Sikorsky, Stanley Owen Sipka, Michael A. Sedut, Michael Edward Skelton, Jacob Allen Slingerland, Anne Marie Smith, Ashley Dawn Smith, Shannon Marie Sozier, Kevin Michael Solari, Melissa Ann Solari, Charles S. Spalding, Jennifer Joan Spindler, Benedict J. Sponseller, Jr., Timothy Stablin, Joel Alexander Stainbrook, Stephen Michael Status, Rebecca Leah Stewart, Jacqueline Ann Sticka, Tamara Nicole Stick, David Michael Stoltz, Jane Gage Stout, summa cum laude, Mark David Strayer, magna cum laude, Christopher Robert Stull, Tyler Wesley Stull, cum laude, Jeffrey Michael Sturrock, summa cum laude, John Brendan Sullivan, Jason Dean Swanson, Stephen John Spanowski, Hope Elizabeth Tabor, Stephen Talich, John W. Tastian, Travis Lee Temple, Kellen Raymond Thompson, Christy Lynn Tibbetts, Sarah Marie Todd, Douglas J. Tomzak, Lauren Renee Tumeyer, Ashley J. Toppert, Harold R. Townsend, Jr., Laura Michelle Treasurer, cum laude, Timothy Keith Trumner, magna cum laude, Marguerite Elizabeth Tyler, Carol Chinamso Ulosha, Connie Marie Van Gotham, Christina Marie Van Horlen, Brianne Lee Van Lowe, magna cum laude. Joanna Marie Van Scherel. Kristen Jill Vanna, cum laude. Christopher J. Van Sickle II, cum laude. Katie Lynn Vegter. Soma Sundaram Velayutham. Robert Ryan Vercoda, cum laude. Catherine Marie Villagomez. Carlos Andreas Villarreal. Stephen Patrick Wallace. Christina Marie Wallig, summa cum laude. Gregory William Walzer. Rebecca Lynn Washoe. Jordan Matthew Watson. Catherine Elaine Webb, magna cum laude. Matthew Richard Weber. Patricia Jean Weber, cum laude. Aaron Van Zandt Welsh. Adam Christian Welty. Michael David Wentz, cum laude. Teresa Elizabeth Wenzel, summa cum laude. Jeffrey Robert Wormers. Melissa J. Wirt. Robin Lynn Wesselow, cum laude. Blair David Westerly, summa cum laude. Elizabeth Ann Westfall. Rukia Ashanti Wheeler. Ann Schuler White. Jillian Michelle Whittick. Heather Diane Weedolf, magna cum laude. Carolyn Deanne Wiekert. Jana Lee Wilkening, cum laude. Robert A. Williams. Teresa Lynn Wilson. Jared Richard Wenquist. David Blaine Wise, Jr. Jill Marie Whitmer. Craig Russell Wokovich. Evan M. Wolf. Holly Mae Womack. Zachary William Wood. David Rudolph Wubin. Trevor Miles Wukash. Colleen Allison Wynn. Emily Rose Janacek, cum laude. Nicholas Rankin Yazbek. Leslie Marie Zeglin. Robert J. Zemank, magna cum laude. Andrew Nicholas Zimmerman. Jeffrey Brian Zimmerman. Ladies and gentlemen, we are so proud of the class of 2005. Let us join in congratulations to them.
Once again, congratulations. Also marching in this commencement, we have 19 representatives of the class of 1955, 4 representatives from the class of 1950, 2 representatives from the class of 1945, and 1 representative from the class of 1940. Will you please stand to be recognized? Graduates, I expect each and every one of you back for your 65th anniversary from Augustana College. There are 2 more groups of individuals that I'd like to recognize. Will the parents of the graduates please stand? Please stand, parents. Parents, stay standing. Stay standing, parents. Will the grandparents, brothers and sisters, and friends of graduates please stand? Thank you. Parents, we appreciate your efforts on behalf of your students. Thank you again for entrusting your students to Augustana College. This is a great group of students, and we're pleased to share in their education. Finally, I'd like to recognize a very talented group, the most talented group of individuals that I've had the pleasure of working with, the faculty and staff of Augustana College. Please stand. Thank you so much, faculty. The benediction today will be delivered by the Right Reverend Thomas Leiser, Bishop of the Diocese of the Arusha region, the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Tanzania. Pamela Maeda, class of 2005, is a member of his synod. It is a special pleasure to introduce him. May God bless and keep the class of 2005. Please stand. Bishop.
May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the face of the Lord shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the face of the Lord be lifted upon you and give you peace. In the name of the Father, Son, and of the Holy Spirit, Amen.